Is it showing?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Thank you. So we're gonna start with a short game to warm up. So this is true or false. I will give you a set of sentences, and you will have to try to guess whether the sentences are true or not. Okay. So today we will be talking about The Rock. Do you know The Rock? Yes? No?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Thank you, Juan. Thank you, Ignacio. Okay, so the first sentence is he was arrested nine times before the age of 17. What do you think? True or false? Any ideas?
I think it's false.
You think it's false? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, that is actually true.
Oh.
He was arrested 9 times before the age of 17, and he was kind of a troublemaker. So yes, that was true. Okay, number two, he eats 8 meals per day. What do you think? Any answers?
I think it's true.
Okay, he looks muscular, right? He looks big. Okay, that one is actually fake, but he eats 7 meals per day and no less than 5,000 calories each day. So that's a lot. And he exercises a lot as well, so he burns all those calories by exercising. Okay, next one. He has a degree in criminology. What do you think? Do you think he has any degree?
No.
No? Fanny, you don't think so? Okay, well, this one is actually true. He has a degree in criminology from the University of Miami. So that is interesting. It's true. And four, he lived in Hawaii. True or false? Anyone can answer. This is not a test. You're not being
That
tested. This is just a game. Ignacio, what do you think?
yeah, I think that is true as well.
Yes, that's true. He lived in Hawaii. Yes, well done. Okay, five. He used to dance in world competitions. Any ideas?
I think that is
False.
false.
Okay, yes, that's false. Yeah, he doesn't dance, and I mean, he probably dances, but he has never competed in world competitions. So that was false. Well done. Next one. He trains 5 times per day. Yes, true, false,
False.
false. Okay, Margaret. Yes, so that one is false. He doesn't train 5 times, but he starts training at 4 a.m. every day. That is crazy, right? 4 a.m. Getting up every single day at 4 a.m. and working out. That you need to be really consistent to do that, right? Okay, next one. He has won 7 times the WWE Championship. Do you know
Uh,
what the WWE is?
yeah, yeah,
Yes? And
sure.
do you think that's true?
Yeah, I think that is true.
Yes, that's true actually, and he is really famous because of that championship. Number eight, he's terribly scared of spiders. True or false? Come on. What do you think? Is he scared of
True.
spiders? True? Okay, yes. Thank you, Margaret. Yes, that's true. He is really, really scared of spiders. And nine, he's fluent in Chinese, Spanish, and Portuguese. What do you think?
True?
Is it possible? True. Okay.
I think that's false.
Okay, we have two different answers. Okay, that one is false. He knows a bit of Spanish because he was married to a Cuban woman, but that's all he knows, like a bit of Spanish. He's not fluent. So yeah, that was false. Okay, and the last one. He usually drinks a cup of tea in the morning before training. True or false?
False.
False?
False.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Well, that is actually false, but he drinks coffee instead of tea. So he actually drinks something, but instead of tea, it is coffee. So yes, that was all. Thank you for playing. We will start the session. So what do you see here?
Um, 3 cups
Three
of
cups
tea.
of tea.
Good, well done, Sara and Ignacio. Yes. So today we will be talking about the three T's. And we will start for the agenda today. We have a three T's intro. We will talk about tonicity, which is, I would say, most commonly the most difficult of the three T's, but we will work on it. Then we will have a 10-minute break, and then we will practice the three T's: tonality, tonicity, and tone. So the three T's. As an introduction, there are three basic systems that operate in English intonation. Those three systems are tonality, tonicity, and tone. So tonality is basically the division of a spoken material into meaningful chunks. So we divide the material, the spoken material, into meaningful chunks. Okay, next for tonicity, we have that speakers use intonation to highlight some words that are important for the meaning they wish to convey. So some words in the sentences or the things that they are saying are highlighted in order to be more meaningful. Okay, and lastly we have tone, and this might be really this might not be new for you, but tone is the pitch movement that is associated with the IP, the intonational phrase. So there are mainly three types of tone, which are rise, fall, and fall, rise. There are other types of tone, but we will study only these three. So rise, fall, and fall, rise. Now, going into tone or intonation. So intonation is the melody of a speech. This means that the study of intonation is mainly concerned with the rising and falling of the pitch of the voice. Okay, so intonation is concerned where do we have it? Okay, so intonation is concerned only with the pitch changes within an utterance, right? As it says in the second statement. Why do we use intonation? Well, we use intonation because speech without intonation does not sound human. It sounds more like a robot or like a robot with sound. So it's not really natural to say in some sort of way. Sorry. Okay, so yes, we use intonation because it makes the speech more natural. So intonation helps convey linguistic and pragmatic meaning, and it mixes them. And it is important because in communication, it provides an additional meaning to what it is said in words. So by intonation, we can have a better understanding of what the speaker is trying to say. So intonation, how we say things. Intonation is about how we say things, rather than what we say. So the way the voice rises and falls when speaking, that is intonation basically. So just as words have stressed syllables, sentences have regular patterns of stressed words. So again, these are not rules, but patterns generally used by native speakers of English. So let's read this. In addition, the voice tends to rise, fall, or remain flat, depending on the meaning or feeling we want to convey. So if we want to express surprise, anger, interest, boredom, gratitude, etc., that is when we use intonation. So intonation, therefore, indicates the mood of the speaker. And as I mentioned before, there are two basic patterns of intonation in English. We have the falling intonation and the rising intonation. And from those, we can find the fall rise or the rise fall, but we will review them. So in the following examples, a downward arrow, so an arrow going down, indicates a fall in intonation, and an arrow going up indicates a rise in intonation. So we will check when do we use the different types of intonation. So try to write this because for the activities in today's class, you will need to identify the type of intonation. So for statements, we usually use a falling intonation. What is a falling intonation? So it is when the pitch of the voice falls at the end of the sentence, right? So nice to meet you. That would be a falling intonation. And you can see that, I'm going to use the pen here. You can see that here, yes, here, we have the arrow going down to identify which type of intonation it is. Now, also falling intonation is used for commands, such as the two examples that we have here, like write your name here, or show me what you show me what you have written. Those are going down. The intonation is going down, so we use falling intonation. Now, as it says in the top of the slide, falling intonation is the most common intonation pattern in English. So it is the one that is most commonly found. Next, for WH questions requesting information, we also use a falling intonation. So where do you work? Falling. Can you actually listen to the falling, or you are not able to notice it? Is it clear when you listen to it?
Sometimes it is difficult to identify.
Yes, right? Because if you use if you are clear when these types of intonations are used, it will be a lot easier, but sometimes it will depend on the speaker, because it will depend on the type of emotion that he or she is using, right? So for question tags that are statements requiring confirmation rather than questions, we also use falling intonation. So she's such a nuance, isn't she? Falling. So I failed the test because I didn't revise. Did I? Falling. So question tags, requesting information are also the ones that use falling. And lastly, we have exclamations. So how nice of you, falling. And then that's just what I need, falling again. So here you can see when do we use the falling intonation. So statements, commands, WH questions requesting information, question tags, requesting confirmation, and exclamations. Okay, so is it clear? First one, were you able to write it so you don't forget it? Yes, so we can move on.
Yes.
I'm still writing. Can you
Okay,
wait a
okay.
second, please?
Yes, sure, Carla, no
Thank you.
worries.
Maybe as a tip, you can take a screenshot of, and then you can.
Yes, I can also send you the PowerPoint later, but sorry, for the class you will need to have it written, but I can send you the PowerPoint so you can study later. But yes, so it is useful because when you know when these types of intonation are used, it will be a lot easier to identify the type of intonation in written, because if you're listening to it, I mean, as I said before, it will depend on the speaker and the feeling that he or she is trying to convey. So, Carla, were you able to write it or not yet?
Yes, thank you.
Yes? Okay, perfect. So
Yes.
let's move into rising. So the rising intonation is when the pitch of the voice rises at the end of the sentence. So basically we can find rising intonation in these two scenarios. So yes or no questions, like do you like the new teacher, or have you finished already? May I borrow your sorry, may I borrow your dictionary? So do you have any magazines? Do you sell stamps? So yes, so yes or no questions, and by yes or no questions I mean the type of questions that can be answered by yes or no, right? So that is one scenario in which rising intonation is used. And then we have question tags that show uncertainty and require an answer. So we have met already, haven't we? You like fish, don't you? You are a new student, aren't you? The view is beautiful, isn't it? So all those examples have a rising intonation because the pitch of the voice rises at the end of the sentence. Is that one clear? Yes? No? Were you able to write it? Maybe you don't really have to write all the examples. Maybe you can just write when is it used and just one example. But I will give you a minute to write it if you are not able before we move on. Okay, so in this case for rising, it can be a bit confusing sometimes to identify, but just try to remember when you're listening to someone speaking, if the voice at the end of the sentence goes up, if the pitch at the end of the sentence goes up, you can instantly think that it is a rising intonation, especially if they are using yes or no questions or question tags. But mostly question tags that show uncertainty and require an answer. So keep that in mind. And yes, are we ready to move on? Yes? No? Okay, so I'm gonna move on. If we need to review this again, we can go back. So next we have the fall rise intonation. So we sometimes use a combination of rising and falling intonation in the same sentence, right? So the combination is called rise fall or fall rise intonation, depending. We use rise fall intonation for choices, lists, unfinished thoughts, and conditional sentences. So let's see some examples. So for fall rise intonation, we have choices like in alternative questions. So are you having soup or salad? Do you notice the change in the pitch? So in the next example, we have, is John leaving on Thursday or Friday? Okay, so those examples show a full rise intonation. Then lists, so rising, 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 and then falling. So for a list, like in this example, we've got apples, pears, bananas, and oranges. So when we are at the very end of a list, usually the last item of the list will have a falling intonation. Now, the sweater comes in blue, white, pink, and black, going down again. Unfinished thoughts, so thoughts that, of course, are not finished. The speaker hesitates to fully express her thoughts. Do you like my new handbag? Well, the leather is nice. So he's trying to say that, okay, but I don't like it. The leather is nice. And then a falling. And lastly, we use this full rise intonation for conditional sentences. So if he calls, ask him to leave a message, then going down. So if he, going up, and then message, going down. Unless he insists, up, I'm not going to go, down. Can you notice the differences? Is it clear? I know you don't like talking, but I really need you to answer so we can check.
Yes,
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
it's clear.
it
Thank
is
you.
Yes, it's
always
clear.
first up and then down.
Sorry?
It's always up and then down.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, but this is called fall rise, but it can happen the other way around as well. So it's when there's a combination of rising and falling. So it can be first a rise and then a fall, or it can be a fall and then a rise. It will depend, but you can notice those things. So do you need time to write it? Nope, because we will move on to tonality.
Maybe
Yes.
I feel like I can do it. Do I have to raise my voice tone?
Okay,
So
so
is
you when
that?
you read the
I don't
examples,
understand.
you don't okay, Juan, that's fine. So when you read the examples, you don't think you can notice the change? That is your question?
I can notice the change when you do it, but I can't do it.
Yes. I mean, look, you sometimes have to be exaggerated. Okay, try reading one example, any example that you like,
Are
and
you
and
having? Are you
exaggerate.
having soap or salad. No, I can't.
Okay, you can do it. You can do it. But look, so here's the thing. So you already know because you are seeing the arrows, right? You already
Mhm.
know that when you are about to say the word soup, you need to uh, higher your pitch, say it louder in to say it in some sort of way. And when you are about to say the word salad, you need to lower your voice or lower your pitch. So try. Are you having soup or salad?
Are you having soup or salad?
Right. So that is a very good pronunciation. You did it great. But you need to, so here you have the arrows. So it's easier for you when you have them because you already know where and when the fall or the rise intonation will go. So try reading the second example and exaggerate it. It's fine. You can exaggerate it.
Is John leaving on Thursday or Friday?
Yes, that's fine. On Friday. Yes, that's fine. You can do it. I think it just require practice, and you will get there. But it's difficult when it is the first time reading the sentence. So if you don't really know the sentence, it will be difficult. But if you read it more times and practice it, you will notice that it will get easier. So
Oh,
yes, good. Are we good? Okay. So any other questions before we move on? Okay. So as I said before, we can come back at any moment if you have questions. So let's move into tonality. Juan, would you mind reading the slide?
why me?
Read it.
um,
You don't need the intonation here. Just read it however you want.
Tonality is the system that divides spoken discourse into smaller units. In order to make themselves understood, speakers organize the flow of speech into smaller, meaningful chunks called intonation phrases, EPS. Intonation phrases are also referred to as words groups, tone units, or intonation units. Each unit contains one piece of information. Example, I like kiwi, but watermelon is my favorite fruit.
Great, thank you. Yes, so as Juan said, we use tonality to divide a spoken discourse into smaller units. So, for instance, if we have a big text or a lot of sentences, we can divide those sentences and into smaller units that will be called IPs or intonation units or word groups or tone units. So they have different names. But here we have an example. So it says, I like kiwi, but watermelon is my favorite fruit. So where would you put the chunking? So if we have to put lines in here, let me change. So if we have to put lines to divide this into a smaller units, where do you think they would go? So we have a comma. So this is an indicator that there is a stop here and there should be a chunk in there. So this is the first chunk. Sorry, my lines are terrible. But okay, so this is the first chunk. The first chunk. Where do you think the next one would be? At the end or after watermelon? When you're pronouncing this sentence. Any ideas? No?
After watermelon.
Maybe after.
Okay, so you think here. Okay, thank you. And the other one, the last one, right? So this will depend on the way that the speaker pronounces the sentence, right? But it is usually like this. So it would be this first one, then where the comma is, and then at the very end, without the one after watermelon, because you would say I like kiwi, but watermelon is my favorite fruit. The next IP would be like really said fast. Not there, it doesn't have any stops, but it would depend because, for instance, if you want to say it, I like kiwi, but watermelon is my favorite fruit, then you would put one here, a chunk here, a line, but it will depend. So this was an example. Basically, I'm not sure if this is very clear, but basically we use tonality when in a spoken discourse. So when someone is speaking, they usually do pauses or full stops or what would be written as a comma. So all those things are usually the ones that are identified as chunks. So anything that has a piece of information. So each unit contains a piece of information. That's the main thing that you need to notice. So if it doesn't contain a piece of information, or if it's not very clear, it most likely won't be a chunk or an IP. But it's not really difficult to spot, because when you are listening to someone speak, they usually do pauses. So I like kiwi, and then I would do a pause. So okay, there is where the stop is. So that is the first IP or intonation unit. And then, but watermelon is my favorite fruit. Okay, so I didn't do any stops there. So okay, that's a second intonation unit. So is it clear? What do you think? Confusing? Yes, no? You need this explained again? Any answers?
I think it's clear, even, but this one is a little bit more complicated.
Yes, yes. So we will go in higher in the complexity of this, but it is still not really difficult, because as long as you are able to identify when the speaker is doing the stops, and we will practice this, and you will notice it's not really difficult. But if you are able to identify when the speaker stops speaking, you will say, okay, that's the first one, or that's the next tone unit. It will be easier again with practice. But thank you, Karina. So are we ready to move to tonicity? This one might be a little more difficult, so you need to be concentrated. So let's move to tonicity. Can I have someone reading? Any volunteers?
I can do it.
Okay, Ignacio, thank you. Go on.
Tone unit, also known as intonational phrase, speak unit, or tone group, is the basic unit of intonation, commonly found in a bigger size than the syllable. Each tone unit has to have one tonic syllable. Within each tone unit we can find four components: prehead, head, tonic syllable, and tail.
Exactly, thank you. So as Ignacio read, tone unit, also known as intonational phrase, speech unit, or tone group. So you need to know that there are different names for this. It is the basic unit of intonation. So when we're talking about tonicity, we can find the tone unit. And within tone unit, we can find the prehead, the head, the tonic syllable, and the tail. So the tonic syllable always exists in the tone unit. It will always be there. So that is why it is highlighted here. And it says each tone unit has to have one tonic syllable. So that's important to remember. Okay, before we move to the next slide. Do you need more time writing?
Yes, please.
Okay, you can write it. Okay, Professor Bruno put the screenshot on the chat box. But let's move on. So the tonic syllable. So a tonic syllable or nucleus, because it can be named both ways, is the most important syllable in a tone unit. So it is the syllable that carries the most important stress of that unit. That being said, an important distinction to understand here is that the tonic syllable, while being the most important stress, is not necessarily the most prominent. Okay, so it is the most important, but sometimes it will not be the first one that cuts your attention, because it's not necessarily the most prominent or sometimes loud, or so that can be a bit confusing. So yes, so a tonic syllable or nucleus is the most important syllable in a tone unit. That is essential to remember first. And in English, there can only be one tonic syllable per tone unit. So here we have an example, and we will go in depth with each of the components. But in the first part here, we have a prehead. So okay, the first thing that you should be able to notice when listening to the speaker is try to always first find the tonic syllable, because that will make the rest of the components easier to identify. So here we have in a little less than an hour, I think. So the stress, or the most important stress, is in this syllable, right? In hour, in this word. So then everything that comes after would be the tail, as in Spanish we would call cola. So everything after the tonic syllable will be the tail. We will review this in depth, as I said before, in the next slides. But this is just for you to have an idea about how this is identified. So the head would be little less than an, and then we have the prehead. So now we will see the other components, so it will be easier for you to identify. But you need to know that tonic syllable or nucleus is the most important syllable in a tone unit. In this case, it would be hour. And if you find it first, it will be easier for you to identify all the other components. So let's move into head. So a head is all that part of an intonation phrase that extends from the first stressed syllable up to, but not including, the nucleus. So here we have a series of examples. First, we have those. On its own, those would be the nucleus. And if we put give me first before those, and we have give me those, we will notice that, okay, those is the nucleus. We said that before. And the head would be give me. Why? Because remember that the head is always everything that comes before the nucleus, starting from the first stress, right? The first stress syllable. So you can see here that give is a stressed. So give me those. Those, as we mentioned, was the nucleus. And the head would be give me, because it is where the first stress syllable is, and it is before the nucleus. Okay, what if we have Billy called to give me those? So again, Billy would be the first stress syllable. So that would be where the head starts in the sentence. So those will still be the nucleus, but everything coming before that is stressed, that the first stressed syllable, and to the word before those, or before the nucleus, would be the head. So it's a bit confusing, but do you understand it? Or do you need explanation again? What do you think?
Explanation again, please.
Okay, let me drink a bit of water. Okay, so we already know that the nucleus is it is those in this case, right? So in this example, we already have the nucleus. Now, what happens if we put two other words at the beginning of the sentence before the nucleus? Those two words here are give me, and we know that give is a stress. Give, the word has a stress, right? Give, it is a stress. So everything that is before the nucleus, starting from a stressed syllable, will be the head. So I'm not sure how to explain it to be clearer, but every stressed syllable before the nucleus will be the head.
And it is always like that, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Every single time that before the nucleus you have, you can have as the next example, you have 5 words before the nucleus.
Mm-hmm.
And when you spot, okay, here this word is a stress. So Billy is a stress, right? So you can see that everything from Billy to the nucleus, but not including the nucleus, will be the head.
Okay.
Is it clear?
Yes.
But you have to remember that the syllable has to be stressed to be the head, the first syllable. Okay, so because in this example you can see that to is not stressed and me is not stressed, but you have Billy, then you have cold, and then you have give. All those words are stressed. So starting from Billy to me, that would be the head before the nucleus. Clear? Is it better?
Yes. Thank you.
Great, no worries. Okay, so in this example, in the last one, we have in an hour. And we already know that in and an are not stressed. So what happens in this case? Well, in this case, there is no head. That can happen. So for instance, what if we're talking and I just said in an hour? Okay, we know that the nucleus would be hour, but then the first 2 words are not stressed. What are they then? What do you think they are if they're not stressed? Because they cannot be the head because they are not stressed. So this is when we start talking about the pre-head. So it can happen. So, okay, so the pre-head is composed of all the unstressed syllables in an intonation phrase preceding the first stressed syllable. Okay, so it can happen that we don't have a head, as we saw in the previous example. That is why I think it is best if we spot first the nucleus, because everything from then will be easier to identify. So we have hour as the nucleus in a little less than an hour. Okay, that's the nucleus. And then in this case, we do have a head because this is the first stress syllable before the nucleus, the first stress syllable. Okay, this is where, so when you see that, or when you listen to a word that is stressed and it comes before the nucleus, you can say, okay, this is where the head starts. And it will always be up to before the nucleus. It will never include the nucleus. Okay, so what happens if we don't have the head? Because as in the previous example, it was in an hour. We don't have any stress syllables there. So that would be called the pre-head. So imagine we don't have this. We don't have this. We only have in, it should be an N here, but in an hour. In an would be the pre-head because it is not a stress. So what is important to remember here? Okay, the head is starts from the first stress syllable up to the nucleus, but not including the nucleus. And the pre-head is everything that comes before the head, if there is head, everything that comes before the head that is unstressed. So that is basically it. Is it clear? Is it clear? So you have two for it, it's pretty similar, the head with the pre-head. The only difference is that the head is the first stressed syllable and the pre-head is the first unstressed syllable. Yes, do you think it's clear?
Miss, so we can have
So
a pre-head, and it is not necessary to have a head, but we can have a pre-head, right?
yes, so in the
Okay.
previous example, here in the last one, there is no head. So we have in an hour, we spotted the nucleus that was hour, and this would be called the pre-head. And we don't have a head. That's fine. That can happen. That happens sometimes. So yes, do you have any other questions before because we will see in which scenarios the pre-head can happen. So it's really not, it's what I was saying just now. So it can happen in two scenarios, with the head or without the head. In the first example, we don't have head. So in an hour, we have seen this example already. So when there is no head, no stress syllable preceding the nucleus, or yes, no stress syllable. And when there is a head, which is like the first example that we saw. So in a little less than an hour, we already know that the nucleus is hour, and then we can see that little is stressed. So we can instantly think, okay, here's what the head starts. So little less than an hour would be the head. And then in A would be the pre-head, because it is the first unstressed syllable before the head or before the nucleus. Is it clear? Yes, no?
Yes, it is.
Thank you, Patricia. Great. So lastly, we have the tail. And this one is very easy to identify when you spot the nucleus. Why? Because it's everything that comes after the nucleus. So it often happens that some syllables follow the nucleus. Any syllables between the nucleus and the end of the intonation phrase are called tail. But it doesn't include the nucleus. Okay, so this is easy to remember because, as I mentioned before, we can associate tail as something that goes at the end of the sentence in this case. So I would say the tail is easy to identify, and it's easy when you already spot the nucleus, because you already know, okay, everything at the end of the after the nucleus will be the tail. Okay, do you think you need to review this again before we try to do exercises? Yes? No? What do you think? I'm not sure if you're understanding, because I will show you the exercises so you can tell me if you need to practice a bit more. So the idea here is that I will give you 7 sentences, and you will listen to the speaker saying them, and you will have to identify where the nucleus is, where the tail, the pre-head, and the head are in the sentence. Do you think you need to review everything again? I mean, in brief, not everything, like explaining everything again. Do you think, or is it a specific one that is still not clear?
Can you do the first?
Okay, so the nucleus, right? Or the tonic syllable.
The
That one?
first there.
The head, or the first example?
The first example.
Okay. So listen, you will hear this. Tell me if you can hear it. Wait.
What a bad day.
Can you hear it?
Yes.
Yes. So that is example, and you will have it written, and you will have to identify where the nucleus is and where all the components. Do you think that's difficult? That is why I need to be sure that you understand before we practice. Is it clear? No? Shall we start and then we check together? Okay, let's do that. So here we have the sentences. So take a look at them. I will give you a minute to read them. And we will play each audio twice. If you need it a third time, you can tell me. But the idea is that you get it in mostly, like, I mean, in 2 times, into listening to it twice. So read them, and we will start right now, because I think this will take a little bit of time. So we need to be kind of quick. So the first one, the first time. So pay attention.
What a bad day.
Okay. Again.
What a bad day.
Okay. Do you need it one more time?
Yes,
Yes,
miss,
no,
please.
yes? Okay.
What a bad day.
Okay. We will check them, so try to write them in your notebook. Try to write them and identify where everything was. So you will have a minute to do it. I will play it again.
What a bad day.
Okay. So 1 minute to do it. Okay, were you able to spot them? Yes, no?
Maybe.
Maybe you're not sure. That's fine. We will check them together. So don't worry. Let's go to the second one. Okay.
It really doesn't matter to me.
Again.
It really doesn't matter to me.
Okay, one last time.
It really doesn't matter to me.
Were you able to spot it? Do you need to listen to it again? Yes, no?
The head is, it could be more than one word.
The head will always be one. Oh, sorry, no, the head, yes, can be more than one. So the head, yes, I was confused. The head will always be everything that is stressed, the first syllable that is stressed, up to the nucleus. So let's okay, let's do this one together so it's easier for you to understand. So in this case, the nucleus would be matter, would be in matter. Sorry, that was terrible. Then, as we already spotted the nucleus, we can see that the tail would be here, would be to me. And then from here, which word is stressed? Is it stressed?
No.
No, good. So that would be the pre-head. And where is really stressed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so here is where the head starts. So those two words are the head. We have that this is the nucleus, and then the tail. And as we spotted that it was not stressed, we can say, okay, this is the pre-head. Okay, is it clear? I know it's a lot. Yes?
Yes, but it's clear.
Okay, great. So let's go to the next example.
Let me iron your shirt for you.
Again.
Let me iron your shirt for you.
One last time.
Let me iron your shirt for you.
Okay, so a minute to do it. Okay, were you able to do it? Yes? No?
Yes.
Great. Thank you, Karina. Okay, let's move to the next one. And remember that we will check all of them together. So if you didn't get to do it, we will do it together. So, okay, the next one.
The food there was disgusting.
One more time.
The food there was disgusting.
And the last one.
The food there was disgusting.
Okay. Were you able to do it this time? Yes?
I think that.
Yes? Okay. Let's go to the next one.
That was actually a lot of fun.
Again.
That was actually a lot of fun.
One more time.
That was actually a lot of fun.
Go on. Try to do it. Okay, were you able to do it? Yes or no?
Yes.
Great. Thank you, Sarah. So, as we are running out of time before the first break, I will skip the other two examples, and I will move into so we will check from 1 to 5, and we will check the other two, but we will not listen to them because we're running out of time. So, okay. In the first example, okay, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna tell you. So the first example, where would the nucleus be? What do you think? Any ideas?
So 10.
Bad.
In bat?
Bad.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
Yes.
well, give me a second because I'm terrible writing, so this is really difficult. But okay, nucleus. So this would be. What would be this one? After bat.
The head.
After bat.
After the tail.
Yes, yes. So remember that everything after the nucleus is the tail. We will check them. And this, what would it be?
The head.
Okay. The prehead or the head? I think I
The head.
heard two answers. Okay, let's use the head. We will check them. Okay, so the second one we did it. We know that matter was the nucleus. This takes me always a lot of time. Okay, so was the nucleus. This one was the tail. And really doesn't was the head. And before was the prehead. Okay, and for the next one, what do you think? Where is the nucleus in number 3?
Shirt.
Okay. Okay, so here we have the nucleus. Then I'm not going to write them because we will take forever, but we will check them later. Okay, so after this would be the
Tail.
great. Yes, perfect. What would be the head here?
Iron and your.
Okay.
Iron
This
your.
one. Yes, great. And this one, what would be called?
The prehead.
Yes,
Because
great.
Lenny wasn't stressed.
Yes, very well done. Very, very well done. Okay, for number 4. Where's the nucleus? Was it difficult, this one?
Disgusting.
Okay. Good. Oh, that was terrible, but yes. Okay. Where would be the head? Where do you think the head is? So, which of these words is stressed?
Food.
Okay, so
I think that.
from here and on would be the head.
Mhm.
And this one, what is it called?
The pre-head.
Yes, great, great. Very well done. Thank you. And the last one, before we check the real answers. Where is the nucleus? Any ideas? Was it difficult, this one?
Yes, actually.
Okay, so
Yeah.
in where do you think I heard an answer? I think lot.
Yes, lots.
Okay, so that would be the nucleus, you think? And then
Yeah.
Yes.
everything coming after would be the tail, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and where is
Yes.
the head and the pre-head, if there is? Where? Which syllable is stressed here? The first.
Actually.
Okay, so this would be the head.
Actually.
And this one, what is it called?
The pre-head.
Yes, great.
Uh,
Thank you.
head.
So yes, thank you. So let's check the answers. Most of them were right, but some of them were not, because it can be a little confusing. So, okay, the pre-head will be in light blue, the head will be in blue, and then the tonic syllable in red, and the tail in green. So, in the first example, you remember that I mentioned that the nucleus is not necessarily the loudest, so it can be a bit confusing. We thought that they was the tail, but it is actually the nucleus. We will go back and listen to it again, but it is actually they, the tonic syllable, or the nucleus. Then we can see that bad would be the head, and then everything coming before that would be the pre-head. I think this one was probably like the only one that wasn't fully correct. But okay, so we did the second one together. Then the third one, the shirt would be the tonic syllable or the nucleus. And as we spotted that shirt, okay, shirt is the nucleus. We can see already that tail is in green and would be for you. And then iron is stressed, so that is where the head starts. And then we have the pre-head. Now, in the fourth example, we have that the tonic syllable is disgusting, and there is no tail. Can you notice that there is no tail? And then the head would start in food, because food is stressed. So food there was, that would be the head. And the pre-head would be the, because it is not stressed, of course. For the next one, we have that the tonic syllable is fun. And this one is a bit complicated. We will listen to it again, but this one is a bit complicated, because we might get confused, because it sounded a lot sounded louder, right? Sounded like it was more stressed, but actually the tonic syllable was fun. Then actually is the first stress syllable, and we can say therefore that actually a lot of would be the head, and then that would be the pre-head, because that was our two words that are not stressed. Next, we didn't do this too, but the concert is about to begin. Begin would be the tonic syllable. Then we will have concert is about to would be the head, because concert is stressed, and that would be the pre-head. And lastly, we have this experience has changed me, and changed would be the tonic syllable. Then we already know that everything after the tonic syllable would be the tail. And before that, the first stressed syllable would be experience, in experience. So experience has would be the head, and the prehead would be this because it is not stressed. Now, would you like to listen to some of them again so you can see the differences, or you think you're fine? Because I know this is a bit difficult, but again, it's just paying attention and trying to notice. As I said before, when you notice where the tonic syllable is, it will be everything easier to spot because you will already know which words are stressed or which ones are not, and then everything after the tonic syllable will be the tail. So it gets easier with practice. But do you think you need more time to practice this? Because or you want to listen to the sentences again, maybe not all of them, or do you have questions regarding this? Any comments? Nope.
I want to say that with the exercise, it was too much glitter.
Yes, right. Because I think, well, I
Yeah.
think in everything that we are studying, when we are studying theory, it sounds really difficult, right? But then when we put it into practice, it will get easier. So in the second half of the hour, we will practice this again, but less sentences, not 7 or 5. We will continue practicing this, but you need to continue practice in order for this to be easier, because at first can be a lot to take in, but you will get there and you will understand it with practice. So okay, it's 5:56. Yes, so can you be back at 6:06? So let's go on a short break. 6:06, so we continue with the practice. You can go and take a break now.